Hello, this is Jason as Dr. Gaming Plays, and what I want to talk about in this video are my impressions for the Collector's Edition of Persona 3 Reload, and also my impressions of the gameplay. Now, before I get into both of those things, if you could hit the like button, I would really appreciate it, as it lets YouTube know that you like this video, and also please hit the subscribe button. Anyways, without further ado, let's get right into it. So, as you can see here, I have many of the components for the collector's edition laid out in front of me. My original intention was to do an unboxing video, but there were some significant technical issues with those clips. So unfortunately, once you've unboxed something and you don't realize that that's happened, it's kind of hard to box it all back up again and do another unboxing. So what I want this part of the video to be is just a casual discussion about the different things that come with the collector's edition. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the music that comes with the collector's edition. So first up are the music CDs. So to Atlas, I will give it A+ for including 2 physical CDs with a fair amount of tracks on them. A lot of collector's editions nowadays, they just either just maybe have 1 CD with a few selections of songs, or it's more commonly frequently you just have a download code instead of getting something physical. Kind of like a C to Atlas though is for a $200 collector's edition, instead of having this cardboard holder for the CDs, I would have preferred to actually see an actual jewel case instead. And the other thing they include with the music CDs is a booklet which has track listing in the beginning and then some of the lyrics to some of the songs. So just as a heads up, for a lot of the music, some of it has been remixed. There's a new vocalist, and if you're used to the older music from Persona 3 FES, or Portable, I haven't played Portable, but I assume there's some of the same music on it. If you're really used to those tracks, getting used to the new music might take some getting used to. For me personally, I mean, I've listened to the original soundtrack, to death, as well as some of the live performances as well. So, as I said, I'm not saying that the new music is necessarily bad. It's just going to take some getting used to. And there's a couple tracks I may get into a little bit more detail when I get into the actual gameplay itself. Okay, so another item that's included with the collector's editions is an art book. So, again, for Atlas, I would give them probably about A-, maybe closer to A for some of the content that's in this art book. I mean, it contains a fair number of character portraits, and as you get more towards the end, there's a lot of concept art in it as well. It's a lot of the typical things you would expect in an art book that would come with the collector's edition. So, again, good props to the actual content of the art book. That I'm happy with. Again, though, for $200 collector's editions, I mean, it probably, would have added more value to this collector's edition had this been actually a hardcover instead of a soft cover. That's just like a minor quibble of mine. It's not the end of the world, and for you, you might be particularly fine with the soft cover. As I said, the content is pretty good. I've enjoyed looking at it. So, anyways. On to the next item, which is the figure that comes with the collector's edition. So next up with the collector's edition, I want to talk about one of the major components, and that is the figure of Agis. So this is something a lot of people were looking forward to, and maybe one of the reasons why, or drove them to purchase the collector's edition. So I have to admit, I am not an expert at collecting these figures or necessarily absolutely judging their quality. Figure collecting is a rabbit hole that I've kind of stayed away from, mostly because it's something I could easily probably rack up a lot of expenses to. So, having said that, here's Agis. I've got her out of her packaging and on her stand. So I could say a few things about it. So, first of all, it is all plastic. Not too much of a surprise, given these figures can be really, really expensive, more than the cost of this collector's edition. So that I'm okay with. What I've heard from a couple of other content creators though, is they don't think the quality is where it should be for a collector's edition that costs $200. So I'm just going to simply take their word for it. Now, personally, what do I think about the figure? I'm relatively happy with it. I mean, it definitely looks like Agis. It's probably a little light, but I mean, it's not something that's gonna necessarily break easier. And I think, with these kinds of figures that come with these collector's editions, I know some of them and other ones, from at least from what I've heard or the feedback I've gotten, is they can be really, really, really cheap. And I don't think it quite falls into that category. The a video game, you have to collector's editions. You have to kind of keep expectations in check. As I said, figures can cost $150, $200, even more, much more in this collector's edition. So we can't expect $200 quality uh, figure inside a collector's edition of this. So again, I'm personally happy with it. I will defer though to those that collect figures more and say maybe Atlas could have done a better job of upping the quality of the figure. So lastly, I'd like to talk a little bit about the packaging and the overall presentation. So I did order this from Amazon, and I really, really crossed my fingers that it wouldn't get damaged. Unfortunately, it did not get damaged. It arrived intact, unlike my copy of Shin Megami Tensei 5 Collector's Editions from number of years ago. I'm still pretty sore about how that arrived. But anyways, it comes in a nice outer sleeve like this, which contains the game cover and then some nice illustrations on the back. And then this sleeve surrounds a box where all the contents come in, and everything inside this box was well put together. It was secure. It was well organized. So I think the overall packaging of the collector's edition it's pretty good. I'll give Atlas credit to that. And this is a pretty solid box. I mean, you have to really, give it a good kick, I guess, to, make a dent into it. So again, for the overall packaging and presentation, I thought that was pretty good. So I guess a big question is the asking price of $200, fair for this collector's edition? And I can't answer that for you. I mean, it's going to be something that you have to decide for yourself. I gave you some of the things that I did like and some of the things I thought they could have done better with. For me personally, I think this is more at the $150 level instead of the $200 level. If they were going to put it at the $200 level, hardcover art book, jewel case for the CDs, music CDs would definitely have been a plus. And maybe upping the quality a little bit in the figurines. So, is this something you would need to rush out and buy now? It's a collector's edition, and I would encourage you to think about that a little bit, because what Sega Atlas has done with their last few editions is they seem to be printing enough copies for everyone who wants to get one to be able to get one. I don't know if it's available anymore, but the collector's edition for Shin Megami Tensei 5, that was available for like at least several months, and I think they're still selling the one more edition for Persona 5 Royale. So I think you have some time to decide and not give into FOMO and necessarily rush out and get it. Now, why did I pre-order it and get it right away? Well, Persona 3 is a game that's very dear to my heart. If you saw in the intro line on the table was my copy of Persona 3 FES. I've played through this about 2.5 times, way back in the day. And during that time, I was going through some troubles in my work life and some other things where this game really helped me keep my sanity. So that is really one of the big reasons I decided to get the collector's edition now, as well as some of the content that came with it. So now that I've talked about the collector's edition, what I'd like to move on next to are some of my initial thoughts on the gameplay itself. So here we are in the classroom, and I'm about 15 hours into the game. One of the handy features is to quickly bring up your messages and to see which one of your confidants is available to spend time with. There will also be other messages from the various shops, such as, for example, when AOH Pharmacy is having their weekly sale. These messages are helpful to keep track of and what is available that day. You don't have to answer these right away, so you do have time to zip off to the Velvet Room and grab a persona that matches the Confidence Arcana and provides behind-the-scenes bonus points during the time you spend with them. New to this version of the game is the ability to see what everyone else has been up to that point in the game. Of course, you don't have to follow what everyone else has been doing, as in your game, you might be fairly caught up with spending time with Mako, but need to catch up with Chichiro. Still nice to have this, though, as some confidants are only available at certain times, and as a major hint and piece of advice for early on during the game, you'll want to prioritize spending time with school confidants on days that you have class, as they won't be available on days in which you don't have class. You can also bring up a town map to instantaneously travel to another location. Locations with a card icon to indicate there are one or more confidants available in that location. Once you reach the destination, you can check out the various shops, as they can have activities that provide points for charm, courage, or academic social stats. When you approach a place like Wild Duck Burger, you can look up to see what there is to do there to improve one of these stats. So you don't have to remember all of this on your own. Some of these places are also new to reload, making it easier to boost social stats, which is something that was somewhat more difficult in the original game. Now, as I'm heading up the stairs here, I don't remember a store like the Net Cafe being available in FES, and I'm fairly certain that this is a new feature. This is a place where you can check out and buy software for the common use computer in the dorm. These programs will give you a nice boost in one of the 3 social stats, and is well worth spending the time and the yen on them. Another easy thing to check out is what level you're at with the various characters that you've started bonds as. And you can use this to make decisions on who to spend time with. Now, within this menu system, you can also review the calendar to see if there are any important events for that day, but I haven't used this too much myself. As you get more into the game, Elizabeth in the Velvet Room will start to have requests for you. Completing some of these requests can give you a nice bonus in terms of recovery objects and other goodies, such as Twilight Shards. Once you have completed enough requests, Elizabeth will ask you to show her around town from time to time. Spending time with her will not take up time in the game. Outside Tartarus, it's good to check on the protagonist's stats from time to time, especially the social stats. This can help you make decisions on what you need to improve, and at the start of the game, you'll probably be working on improving these in the evenings, as there aren't too many confidants that are available in the evenings in the first couple of months during the game. Next, we're going to pay a visit to Palanga Mall. Now, there are various shops here as well, such as, for example, Shanghai Cafe. On certain evenings, you can choose to work here, which will improve both your charm and courage and social stats, in addition to providing you with some much-needed yen. There's also the police station, which you can purchase new gear that becomes available after every full moon. This is where the Velvet Room is located outside of Tartarus. You can interact with Elizabeth to take on new requests and turn in completed ones, and you can also use this time to fuse personas. None of these activities will take up time during the game, and as I mentioned earlier, you can grab a persona that matches the arcana of the character that you're going to spend time with. Activities that don't involve time passing are rare in this game, so you want to take as much advantage of this as possible. Polonia Mall also has a pharmacy where you can purchase recovery items to restore health points, or to have items that can cure a status ailment during battle. Monday is the best time to go, and it's good to stock up before full moon where you have to face a boss battle. So far, the pharmacy will not have items recover skill points, the points that you need to have your persona carry out magic-based attacks. I don't think the pharmacy ever had them in the original game. You will find skill point recovery items while exploring Tartarus or by completing certain requests from Elizabeth. Use these sparingly and conserve them for later in the game. If reload is anything like the original, you will need plenty late in game. Now, as I'm finishing up here at the shrine, I'm going to head back to the school, and I want to make a couple of comments about the look of the game. When it was reported that Persona 5 was going to be used as a basis for visual improvements, I was pretty concerned, as Persona 3 is a game that is near and dear to me. While they certainly borrowed some things from Persona 5 to improve the character models, textures, and many of the graphical elements, and really all other places were rebuilt from ground up, this game still retains the atmosphere of Persona 3, with the cooler use of blue tones, and not the more glitzy and aggressive appearance of Persona 5, and I was very pleased to see that. Anyway, that is enough for wandering around. Let's move on to Tartarus. In the original version of Persona 3 in FES, the CPU controlled your party members, which is okay most of the time, but it was annoying to have a party member use something that a shadow was resistant to. One of the features that was carried over from the PSP version of Persona 3 is the ability to control the individual party members. You can still have the CPU do things for you, and there are various options on what a character should prioritize, and it's good to have options for the players as well. As for Tartarus itself, the floors in various sections have undergone major graphical overhauls. The floors are pretty repetitive in the original version, and there are over 260 of them. The Tartarus floors are divided into sections which each have their own look, and it does provide for more visual variety in the Reload version. We have to keep in mind, though, that Tartarus is what it is, one big multi-floor dungeon that is not going to have the flash that palaces do in Persona 5, or the level of creativity for the various behind-the-scenes TV dungeons in Persona 4. Now, as with the original game, you're largely going to want to sneak up on the shadows to have the opportunity to strike first. If you know every enemy weakness in the mob, it can make for short work as opposed to being one long slog. Now that we have started a battle, you can hit L1 to see what an enemy's weaknesses are. If you don't have this information to start, or a bunch of battle scopes like as you do in Trails games, to scan them, so early in the game it does take some trial and error. For the main character, you can hit a button that allows you to select a persona that has a skill that could take advantage of that weakness. You may have noticed that a DLC persona is in the inventory. In Persona 3 Reload, you can really only make use of DLC personas that are several levels above you, as you do not have the skill points to make use of ones that are too powerful. As I'm cycling through my personas, I'm now going to select one that takes advantage of the enemy's weakness, in this case lightning. This attack will knock the enemy down. And as I knock one enemy down, I can then select the other enemy, select lightning again, and knock that one down as well. Once all the enemies have been knocked down, you have the opportunity to perform an all-out attack as in Persona 4 and 5. And once the battle is done, after the battle, you may get card shuffle time. I won't bore you with the details, but I did notice that if you pick a Persona card that is already in your Persona inventory, it will level up that Persona. And I don't remember if that was a feature in the original game, so someone can make a comment in the comment sections to correct me if I'm wrong about that. Now that we are into our next battle, I want to cover a new feature that was borrowed from Persona 5. Now again, as you select from your personas, you want to again target an enemy weakness. If the main character or other character hits the enemy weakness, you get another turn. But what you can do now in Persona 3 Reload that you couldn't do in the original version is that you can pass this turn along to another character that may also have a skill that can target another enemy weakness. So this is very similar to the baton pass in Persona 5, and it helps out a lot in many shadow mobs that are mixed, each having their own different weaknesses. So this is really all I wanted to go through with the battles, is to not spoil anything, and there are a fair number of quality of life improvements that make battling in Tartarus much less tedious than the original. And something I may have inferred is that the battles on the normal forest, I think, tend to actually overall be easier than they are in the original version, but some of the boss battles are actually still pretty tough, so you don't want to get lulled into some complacency. So is this game something you should get now? If you're a diehard Persona 3 fan and haven't played the other versions in quite some time, you might want to go for it, as there are a lot of new content that I did not cover. However, Sega published Atlus games do tend to go on sale sometime after the release, and it looks like there will be some DLC, including the missing chapter, The Answer, from FES. And it really wouldn't surprise me if Sega published a new version for the next Switch that includes all of the DLC and packs that with other items for yet another collector's edition. So, as I understand, there are also no plans to include a FEMC, which is going to disappoint a lot of players. So anyways, I chose not to wait, as Persona 3, as I said, is dear to my heart for many reasons, and I knew I was going to play it right away, so it didn't really make sense for me to wait, as I wanted to play it now. Anyways, now that I've gone over some of the battle mechanics and Tartarus itself, I'm going to leave you with some parting thoughts. So in conclusion, here are some of my final thoughts. As I said when I was presenting the pieces to the collector's editions, I gave you some sense of at least what I think the value is, you know, probably around the 150 level. But I gave you my reasons why I decided to purchase it now. And again, you know, if it's something you want to purchase now or wait maybe until there's a sale, I think you can hold off some. I don't think you have to necessarily give into the FOMO. As far as the gameplay itself, the impressions I have of it, I've really enjoyed it so far. Again, what I'm a little bit mixed about are some of the songs that have been rearranged. But I suppose in time I'll get used to it. Anyways, why don't you tell me what you think about the collector's edition? Did you actually buy it on day one? Are you waiting? And if you did get it, do you think you got the value is appropriate to what the cost is for the collector's edition? Also, just let me know a little bit what you think about the gameplay so far. What I hope to do in some future videos is I'd like to do a comparison between Reload and maybe FPS, and if I can get my hands on it, Persona 3 Portable as well. Kind of just give my thoughts on like the different editions, and that'll be for a future video. Anyways, again, if you did like this video, please hit that like button, and take care everyone, and I hope you're doing well. I will catch you next time. Bye for now.